Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. I'm Maddie Paul, and behind me is the scene of Great Bear from our live cam, which you can see for yourself on KELOLAND.com. I thought this was like a nice one as we're heading into the weekend. It's going to get a little bit colder. They're making snow up there right now, so starting off with some good vibes here for Inside the Newsroom. On Inside the Newsroom, we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area, and we bring on our newsroom staff members to talk about those trending stories. They just happen to be the same trending stories that you see every day on our website and, of course, on our newscasts. And yesterday, I will say, was a pretty busy day for the newsroom. We had team coverage of the start of the 2026 South Dakota legislative session as it kicked off yesterday. And now lawmakers will spend the next 38 days in peer drafting and debating proposed laws. Governor Larry Rhoden made his first State of the State address yesterday, too. Dan Santella was in the House chamber for Rhoden's remarks at the state capitol in Pierre and gives us this report.
When it comes to how South Dakotans feel the impact of property taxes, Governor Larry Rhoden wants individual counties to have a choice.
I propose that we cut owner-occupied taxes by giving the people of each county a simple option. Replace the county's share of property taxes with a half-cent sales tax.
Rhoden highlighted Clay, Union, and Turner counties, along with the Black Hills and Sioux Falls, as areas especially impacted by the weight of property taxes.
The areas with the biggest property tax increase are also those that attract the most visitors. So this proposal will allow those counties to cut property taxes and draw more revenues from tourists and out-of-staters. We've modeled this carefully, and we've estimated impacts in every county.
Healthcare beyond the state's population centers also had Rhoden's attention today.
This is a big year for rural health in South Dakota. Our state was recently awarded $189 million in federal funding for our Rural Health Transformation Plan. This is the first year of a 5-year investment to strengthen healthcare access across our state. As I told you in the budget address, we planned for $100 million a year, so this higher award is a major win for South Dakota.
And as the legislative session kicks off, the governor pledges to have another discussion involving health, one which promises to bring impassioned voices from each side of its debate.
This session, I'll be working with legislators and the Attorney General on legislation to stop abortion pills from coming into South Dakota.
KELOLAND News provided team coverage of the State of the State address yesterday. And joining us now here at the digital desk is our digital reporter, Ray Yost, who also listened in on Rhoden's address and wrote up her own KELOLAND.com original story. Ray, to start off, this online story opens with a very quick hook about Rhoden's proposed property tax plan. Why did you want to start the story off this way?
Well, if you look at the State of the State as a whole, Rhoden, the governor, brought forth multiple ideas. But, you know, one of the hottest topics or one of the most discussed topics right now is property tax. That impacts a lot of folks. So it seemed logical that he had the most detailed or concise plan that he explained in a State of the State was about his property tax idea.
And you wanted to make it a hook into your story, right? Is that the way or word that you would use for it?
Yeah, you know, hook, lead, or, you know, it's a process of where you're saying, okay, what is the thing that rises to the top? What is probably going to be of a lot of interest? What's going to capture some attention and lead people through? Again, it's a big topic. It affects a lot of people. It's going to be discussed a lot, I think.
Right. You know, Rhoden's State of the State address took about an hour in the chamber. That's a lot of information to listen to. And in your story, you nail topics like that property tax, healthcare, including the abortion pills, Rhoden's plea for civility during the session, and much more, including education too. So how did you want to condense information or highlight the most important information for the story?
Yeah, wow. Okay, so it was a long State of the State address, and what you've got some moving pieces, and you want to kind of tie some things together. So property tax maybe originally wasn't the way I started. He talked a little bit about civility at the start, but as things emerged during his speech, you're writing it, taking notes, listening to it, and then you're moving the pieces around, saying, okay, this is a real concise plan, this half-cent sales tax for counties is a concise, detailed plan. So let's get this a little farther up because we know it's a big, important topic, and he has some good details. So you're trying to hit not absolutely everything, because that wouldn't be probably something people would read because it's going to get expansive.
Yeah.
But you're also looking at saying, okay, what pieces are connected? Well, I talked about the economy, which led to maybe cybersecurity statements he made about it being a big area of focus for the state. So it's moving the pieces around so that you don't really just end up with a chronological order. And that is saying, okay, we know that property tax is a big deal. I think the abortion pill thing is going to draw a lot of discussion because abortion has in the past, very impassioned folks. And then you kind of look at the economy and some other things. People are interested in the prison, so you want to put something in that the dirt work has started, things like that.
You know, you mentioned that we're highlighting some clips, we're moving around some pieces. We do have an article online, too, that has the full text of Rhoden's State of the State address. I feel like that's just important to say for viewers. And in fact, this was his first State of the State address. So with that, what kind of stood out to you the most from Rhoden's address?
Well, I think, this is obviously the property tax and the abortion pill that he wants to do some things, and the health care. We've got a share. All 50 states get some of that federal money through Trump's kind of transformation plan through his bill. And I think that stands out too, because we've heard a lot about some rural health care systems, whether it's nursing homes or hospitals, kind of struggling. There's been some mergers, not necessarily because they're struggling, but finding staff. So that is one area I think actually lawmakers were ready to hear something on. He didn't provide a lot of details, but to be fair, in a roughly 40 to 60 minute speech, you may not get a lot of details in, because he too would have to pick and choose about how detailed some things get. So I think one of the things you look at is where are the details? What are the highlights? Sometimes you're trying to think like the audience or the reader and say, well, we know more is going to come on this with another bill, but there's not a lot of details, but we should probably share that that's the plan. So as far as what necessarily sticks out, I'm not sure that I look at it from this perspective of, what did I think, as much as kind of looking at it from a reader or a viewer's point of view, saying, okay, what have been topics folks have been interested in the past? What have been discussions that carried over from last year?
Well, Ray, thank you so much for sharing all these details here at the Digital Desk.
Yeah.
And everyone stick around. We still have a lot of trending stories to get to on Inside the Newsroom, coming up next after the break. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. A group of local investors are planning to build the state's first co-housing community in Vermilion. Our digital reporter Marissa Brunkhorst wrote more about this living concept in a recent KELOLAND.com original story. Now, Marissa, for context, for someone who doesn't know what co-housing is, how would you explain that to them?
So co-housing is, basically everybody gets their own home. Everybody owns a home. It tends to be a bit smaller scale, and they share amenities in what is called a common house, which can have like a kitchen, it can have like guest space, and it can have like, crafts or things like that where, these people living in this community can gather and be together. It's also more intentional living in the sense where it's designed to face your community rather than some of the traditional designs that are out there right now, like the garage is in front of the windows.
Had you known much about co-housing before making this story, or what kind of research did you have to do for this story?
Yeah, I did not know anything about co-housing. I heard that this was coming to Vermilion. It's the first one in the state. Really sparked my interest. And I was like, what is this? Like, I think there's a quote that I think is so funny that I didn't include in my story, but the woman organizing it was like, this is co-housing, not a commune. Which that kind of, your head kind of goes there. Like, what are these people doing together? They all want to live together. But
yeah. One thing I love about this story when I was reading it is how you sectioned everything. Like right here, you have what is co-housing. As people read, there's the design, there's more too. You just layer and section your story out really well. It worked for my brain. So why did you want to lay out the story in this way with these sections?
Yeah, I knew immediately that people would have questions about what it even is. And I knew that I had to get that out of the way right away. And that how is this going to be designed? Like, the first questions I had was like, is this like a dorm or is this like
Yeah.
an apartment? So I knew it was important to kind of break that down for people, and as well as how the project was being built. So
This story has been trending on KELOLAND.com since it's basically been published. I think a lot of people just have interest in the concept of co-housing in South Dakota, a first of its kind, as you said. So what stood out to you the most during your interviews and your research?
just, the different age groups. A lot of people are interested in this concept, young and old, middle age as well. I think it's a very new concept, but I think it's also kind of inspiring some folks to think about their living situation too. So
Amazing. Well, Marissa, thank you so much for being here at the Digital Desk to share more details. And everyone, you can read Marissa's story for yourself by heading to KELOLAND.com. Just scan that QR code that you see on your screen right now to take you to our homepage so you can find Marissa's story. And stick around for more on Inside the Newsroom. Up next, we're learning about how the State Theater is celebrating a century. And we're looking back on some memories too. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The State Theater in downtown Sioux Falls is 100 years old this year. In a recent Eye on KELOLAND story, Kelly Vogt looked at the history and the memories made at the century-old movie house. Kelly, I wanted to say, I said this before we started recording, but I was just so impressed by this Eye on KELOLAND story. You were able to cover just so much in the story. But I want to start with a little bit of context. What makes an Eye on KELOLAND piece different than something that we see every day on our newscasts?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So an Eye on KELOLAND is longer than a typical story you would see on a newscast, and it also goes a little more in depth than a typical story.
And this story is kind of, I would think, a little bit helpful that it had like a historical angle to it because you're able to find that century-old history. You used archival footage. You found people that have insane memories that go back with the State Theater. How did you decide what story angle you were going to take? Did it change at any point?
Well, when I initially decided to do this story, I thought it really was just going to be about the nuts and bolts of the history. You know, it opened on this date, this happened this date, then this happened. And then I got a hold of some people who used to enjoy movies there, and I just realized that their stories were so interesting as well. And so it turned more into a stroll down memory lane rather than strictly about the history.
How did you find the people to talk to for this story? Like, you're finding people who just enjoy the movie theater now. You found a couple who found each other with this theater, and people who just make memories. Like, how did you gather these people?
Well, I was racking my brain trying to figure out how can I find someone who used to go to the movies here. And so I asked my coworker, Dan Centella, because he's lived in Sioux Falls much longer than I have. I said, do you know of anyone who would have gone to the State Theater? And so he reached out to one of his friends, and then his friend happened to know a couple who had found love there. So it just kind of snowballed from there.
Was there anything, I mean, that's a pretty unexpected element, in my opinion, that would probably come up. Was there anything else that was pretty unexpected or surprising that happened to you as you were putting the story together?
Well, of course I knew State Theater showed movies. I did not know that it also had vaudeville performances when it first opened. So that was an interesting fact to learn.
I love that you were able to use and find so much archival footage for this piece. It really brought it together for me. But what was that process like? I can't imagine that's necessarily easy to be like, oh, yep, here's the tape, or know exactly what years to find. So what kind of research was involved for you to find archival footage?
Well, I have to give credit to my photographer, Sophie Hall. She kind of kicked off the process of trying to find some old videos. So she found some of it. We have someone who works in our archives at Kelo. It's a member of the Floyd family. So he found some video for us that was in Kelo archives. I reached out to the Historical Society to get some photos of the theater. So we kind of reached out in a few different ways, and that's how we came up with what we have.
You know, this is a longer Eye on KELOLAND story, and as it should be, that's kind of the purpose for Eye on KELOLAND stories, to really cover everything. And I really felt like it gave you a great opportunity to showcase the 100-year span of the State Theater. So for you, what kind of stood out the most as you were creating this story? Or what's one of your biggest takeaways?
Well, I think what stood out for me the most was, again, the memories. I did not plan on making this story this long. Typically, I try to shoot for, 3:30. But, they had these really interesting memories, like the couple, when they were teens, the boy hid a cockroach in a box of candy, and that's how he caught this girl's attention, which is just a wild story. I just really wanted to include all of that because I think that's more interesting than something I could write. So that's why it ended up being so long, but it's because I really liked people sharing their memories.
It's a great story. Kelly, thank you for sharing these details here at the Digital Desk. And everyone, go ahead and watch Kelly's Eye on KELOLAND story on our website right now. Just scan that QR code that you see on your screen right now to take you to KELOLAND.com, where you can find this 100-year State Theater story. And stick around for more on Inside the Newsroom. We're going to be right back after the break. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Scott is just so excited to do Inside the Newsroom. He's been talking and singing before he even started recording, so we got to do a segment now. Scott, we did Midday together yesterday.
We did.
That was so much fun.
You think we'll be invited back?
We'll find out. I mean,
you will be. That's your regular shift.
Yeah, that's my show now, but at least for Wednesday, you're not on, so we'll have to see.
I know I might be on the last week of the month.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, no more this week? I thought you were on on Friday or something.
Nope, not Friday. Not Friday.
Tears of sadness. But that's okay. We'll have fun with the other Mets on Midday. But we did have some fun yesterday on Midday.
Okay.
There's actually something I want to explain for viewers. If people have been watching Inside the Newsroom for a while, they may understand this. But for people who are getting used to me on Midday and joining us on Inside the Newsroom now, I feel like we have some explaining to do, Scott. And I have a clip. I have a clip to accompany this. Here's the clip that we said yesterday on Midday. You know, Scott, I'm so used to us being at the Digital Desk together. I think this is the first time I've looked into your eyes in
that
studio.
is not true.
It might be a little
because
true.
we know about the blue eye stare.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Something that you brought up
on Inside the Newsroom. Everyone, you got to watch Inside the Newsroom on KELOLAND Plus to see what Scott and I mean with that blue eye stare. Speaking of blue, though, this is kind of giving me the stare.
Yeah, we have some blue and green here.
All right. So the blue eye stare.
Yeah.
Scott, that's what I want to talk about.
And that's what you made up. Right?
Okay, first of all, I did not make it up. This is a thing. This is a thing.
The first time I heard of it was from you.
Okay, this is a thing with people with blue eyes. They have this thing where they just kind of stare at you, wide-eyed almost, because they just have these piercing blue eyes. And Scott has blue eyes. Yeah, and yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And so if I do it, it's not the same because I have brown eyes. I just look like I'm staring into your soul. But I look like I'm doing it purposefully. But the intent with blue eye stare is that that's always what it looks like if you have blue eyes.
Does it?
Yeah, I remember.
Never knew that.
I remember the first time I told you about it, and all you did was stare at the Digital Desk into the camera. It looked like this, in fact.
Look at my face.
This is one of the first times I think I clipped a screenshot of us doing it together. See,
and the person with the blue eyes is wearing a blue shirt.
It's a classic color for you.
Make the eyes pop.
It's a good one. I understand it. I'm wearing a little bit of blue eyeshadow today to kind of reinforce this theme. It's full circle almost. You like that? You like how I'm starting this
Yes,
up?
good job. I see what you did there. Picking up what you're laying down.
Thank you. I'm glad. All for you, Scott. And for our viewers, of course, too. You know what? In fact, Maddie.
There you go. Use that sound effect.
I get so many sound effects now that I steal from you, honestly. I literally just copy and paste it onto my Stream Deck, and I'm good to go.
Well, that was so funny yesterday, too. You're like, oh, yeah, I never really noticed that your eyes were blue. And I'm thinking, what? That's not true.
You caught me
we
there.
Have a midday. It's like we have a midday life. And then we have an inside the newsroom, digital desk life.
I
Is that what
know.
you're trying to go for?
That was the intent, and maybe I didn't make it come across as strong as I wanted it to be. Well, here.
Well, then
Let
you
me.
have somebody like me that's like, no, you're wrong.
That's a thing I have to be prepared for always. Well, here, I'll show it right here with the desk, because when we're sitting here at the desk like this, I haven't used this shot in a long time because I don't like the green screen being shown, because I'd rather just have
And
the
there's
live
Summer.
cam. Of course, the one time I pull this up too, but I have this screen up right now because I'm trying to show you, when I look at you, I'm not really looking at you. I'm looking at a camera.
Yeah, we have to. I know when Brian and I do our show, whether or not, I'm always leaning
So do
like
you
this
lean,
because
yeah.
of that camera.
Yeah, you want to see him.
And,
I like
yeah,
it though.
We like.
Well, it's because you guys are used to that too. You guys sometimes look at each other when you're in the studio or whatever, but that helps, when you're trying to talk to somebody. But here we're just, I don't know why I'm doing this to really nail the point here. I have another clip for you. You're talking about whether or not.
Another one.
Another one. And I had a lot of fun with this portion or this segment of whether or not. It was around, I think, the end of the show. And I just want to play a little bit of it.
Just
a little bit of it. Just a little.
I think that last segment only 3.5 minutes.
It was a quick one, yeah, but here's how it started.
Brian Carson's Brian. This is something we talked about. No, not that.
That is
Earlier
not-
this morning.
That's an interview.
That
with
warm
Mitch.
weather
Let me
bill.
start this over.
Brian Carson's Brian. This is something we talked about earlier this morning. That warm weather bill.
Yeah,
It's coming due, isn't it?
it's expensive, isn't it? It's gone up with
guy doesn't-
inflation, I think.
This guy doesn't like it at all.
Yeah, isn't that funny how the weather works?
And
Oh
then
my
there's
goodness.
So here comes Old Man Winter. See you soon.
Yeah.
He might do a day trip here for the weekend on Saturday.
You may do a day trip. This made me
Yeah.
cackle, Scott. This was pretty funny.
That's
See?
yeah, because the cold air coming Saturday. Wind
Yeah.
chills, minus teens, minus 20s.
You don't got to tell me I watched Whether or Not.
Well,
And that's what everyone else should be doing right after this, because Whether or Not airs live at 1:30 after Inside the Newsroom, or you can say it, Scott.
on demand.
On demand.
On demand.
It's the best
That's
part.
part of it, because
part.
that way you don't have to be around at 9:30 or 1:30. You can watch it on demand
Yeah, you could do it on your own
on
time.
your schedule.
Your time. It's the best part. All right, Scott, we're out of time.
Out of time?
I had a busy Inside the Newsroom. I just wanted to have a
Okay.
little fun, though. Just a
Okay.
little
Is
fun.
summer part of it?
No,
If not, you better take
summer's
that
not-
shot. She could turn around and wave.
All right. Okay, we can all wave together. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day, everyone. Look at camera 2, Scott. Let's do
Oh,
it.
gotta do camera 2. Okay.
Bye.
Well, camera 1's right there.
Scott, we're ending the show.